Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Phil Ryan, Senior Editor of Auto Finance News, and I'm pleased to welcome you to this Winning Dealer Business webinar presented by the Center for Auto Finance Excellence, the industry resource that shares best practices and actionable advice with auto finance professionals. Thank you all so much for being a part of this webinar today. This is the second of our four-part 2014 series of webinars presented by the Center for Auto Finance Excellence through the generous support of Fiserv. This webinar, which will last about a half hour and is being recorded, will explore how lenders can be more strategic in dealer business development, as well as how to affect deeper penetration rates with existing dealer clients. The substance of this teleconference harkens to just some of what we do at the Center for Auto Finance Excellence. The Center was launched last year by Auto Finance News and Fiserv for the benefit of the auto finance community. The Center shares its content through events like this and at autofinanceexcellence.org, which we encourage you to join. Our goal is to share unique content and insights on the practice of auto finance, furthering the overall management performance of the industry. Fresh articles are added to the site all the time, and some of the most recent delve into the ramifications of the Condor Capital case, SunTrust Bank's method for expansion into new geographies, and how to use alternative credit scoring methods to widen your pool of eligible borrowers. Today we'll be discussing winning dealer business and keeping it. What goes into building a positive lender-dealer relationship in today's climate of heightened anxiety over compliance? What are the key F&I marketing triggers that dealers respond to? What are some lender sales and marketing best practices that you can employ? The information we cover today will also provide a taste of what you'll experience at the upcoming Auto Finance Summit, which will take place October 6th through 8th at the ARIA Las Vegas. You can visit autofinancesummit.com for more information on that and to register. Please note that a recording of today's webinar will be available on the Center for Auto Finance Excellence website at autofinanceexcellence.org, and we encourage you to share the link to the webinar with your colleagues. And with that, let's get started. It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Sarah Denton, who will talk about dealer needs and lender opportunities from the dealership perspective. Sarah is F&I manager at Kelly Cadillac in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. She has 15 years of dealership experience and certification, primarily with Ford and General Motors. She also owns the SRD consulting firm and has held various positions including F&I manager, warranty administrator, and privacy officer. And we're very pleased to have her speak with us today. Sarah is going to make a short presentation followed by a Q&A session, during which you can ask her your questions. You can submit questions by typing them into the message box to the left of your screen. You can do so throughout the presentation, and we will do our best to air them during the Q&A. So now, without further ado, I turn it over to Sarah Denton, who will present on winning dealer business. Sarah?
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Phil. I should say good morning. I see there's some folks out there on the West Coast. So today, we're going to talk about winning dealer business. Can everybody hear me, I guess? I'll just jump right in. It's important to win dealer business, but it's also important to keep it. And this is presented to you from my point of view as a finance manager and dealership employee for 15 years. Right now in the market, we have some interesting things going on. Automotive finance is on the upswing. Consumer confidence has been increasing since the downturn. Money is still cheap. There's a lot of pent-up demand from the recession. So people are, looking for vehicles to replace maybe what they kind of had to keep going for a few years. Also, MSRPs are higher, so this obviously gives you the ability to make more money because you can finance more money. And there are a lot of new lenders getting into the business. As you probably know, it is definitely still a good business to be in. The other thing that's going on right now that all of us can't stop talking about is the regulatory environment is changing. Daily, it seems like. It is very difficult to keep abreast of the changes. You, as lenders, are caught in the middle, and we do understand that. Dealers are concerned because our profits are being pinched and pinched. This finance department has always been a good source of income for a car dealership. The more regulations that come through, the harder it is to make money. However, it's still the highest return on investment of sales department income. It's a lot cheaper to invest in your finance department in training or developing that individual or individuals that are working with customers to close deals and obtain financing, because you'll make a lot more money with a smaller investment. So it's still good business for dealers. We're still interested in keeping it. So what can you do to strengthen existing business? Relationship. I'll say it again a couple more times. Relationship and relationship. And there are many levels of relationship. One of the things that always made a difference to me and to a lot of my colleagues, everyone that I've talked to, is a personal visit. Yes, the dealer is important, and the other, management in the dealership is important, but the finance manager is the person that's going to make that decision in the heat of the moment as far as where the business is going to go. You've got to develop that relationship. This may sound ridiculous, but seriously, food and coffee. Sometimes you're in a little square box for 14 hours in a row, and getting anything to eat is difficult. So, it's kind of a joke, but it's not true. A little bit true. We are like caged animals. One of the other things is very important with building the relationship with the F&I manager is that the representatives, the people you have out in the field visiting dealers, they need to have deal decision-making power. It is very frustrating to have someone sitting across from you telling you, I'm sorry, I can't help you, it's not my decision. We see the customer. We are your eyes and ears for that customer. And to have that person in front of us that can make a choice to do a deal or not really makes a big difference. So that is something that some lenders do and some don't, but that's a really strong way to build a relationship. The other thing that is important is that that you be available during open dealership hours. Even if there's just one person taking a turn until 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, I know that sounds silly, but there are a lot of customers that come in the evening, and we don't close the deal until after 8 o'clock. And sometimes, especially if it's the customer that's coming from a long distance, you need to be able to know that we're going to get that contract bought. So you might be surprised if you take a survey of dealers, how many times do you spot after 8 o'clock? You might be surprised to find out how much business you might be losing to someone else still available or has automatic decisioning. And I'll say one quick thing about automatic decisioning. You could even lose business that way because it could be a half a point, it could be an extra 6 months, it could be, any little thing that could cause us to make a decision to go with another lender. So having someone following up on those decisions in the evening hours with a phone call or an email or a text, that F&I manager is very important. I can't tell you how many hairs I've pulled out over the years just from not having anybody to talk to after 8 o'clock at night. So we can leave that there for now. Another thing to strengthen existing business: quick funding. Don't drag it out. Fund as fast as possible. As long as you have all your ducks in a row. Make the documentation easy. Make it easy for dealerships to understand. Sometimes the person that does the deal is not the person that packages the contract to send in. Most of the time, that's not the case. So make your documentation easy to understand. Two of the things that can help with that, if you use a law contract or a generic contract law, I think everybody's going to that now, or a letter of assignment. I know that there's different verbiage in all these different contracts, and everybody wants to have their self-protected legally, and I understand that. But it is very frustrating to contract someone and then find out the next day that you can't use that contract with your approval. Or this is also a way, if I have contracted a deal on a law or another contract, and you as a lender are willing to take that deal with an assignment letter, and I do not have to get my customer to re-sign, you will also be able to get additional business that way. Call us up in the morning, say, hey, how's it going? Do you have anything you did last night? Can I, help you make some extra money? Use, again, those relationship things. And it is helpful for me as an F&I manager to know that I can give a call the next morning and say, hey, look, if you take this contract, I got a deal for you if you can pay me an extra point or half a point or whatever. One of the other things to help with funding, and I'm not sure how many of you are involved in the subprime market, funding gets held up for weeks sometimes because of exit interviews or, follow-up interviews and that kind of thing. Try to have as much done up front, even at the time of approval, so that you can make that final exit interview for funding quick and easy. Nobody's ever asked me to send them a picture of a car, but, why not? Why not a picture of the customer standing in front of the car? Maybe that'll break some law, I don't know, but maybe we shouldn't do that. Anyway, think outside the box, though. Try to make it easy for us. The next thing you can do to strengthen existing business is providing regulatory help, and I have a feeling that we're going to have some questions about this later. But again, you guys have the pressure being put on you to make sure that your portfolio meets the criteria for consumer fair lending. So I know that there's a trickle down. A lot of dealerships, we've instituted, forms to fill out at every deal, to make sure we know why we're deviating from the norm as far as markup and everything. But make sure your dealers are doing it, and don't just come in and say, oh, I'm going to come audit you to make sure you're meeting our criteria. And say, hey, I want to review your stuff, make sure your documents are up to date. We're here to help you. You can even hold workshops. I have a lender that I've worked with for a long time. And they'll come out and hold a little workshop for anything that they, whether it be leasing or regulatory stuff or whatever. Their reps are very, anyway. I'm sure you guys all have programs like that, but think about it if you don't. Next thing, being creative with programs. Again, these are just some ideas, but you want to expand your programs, of course, if you've decided this is the business that you want to have in your portfolio, but be creative with those programs. One of the shortfalls in financing, in automotive financing, has always been self-employed and small business owners. As a small business owner myself, for the last few years, I'm now running into things that I've had to help customers with over the years. I had to pay a ridiculously high interest rate to get a car loan because, my business didn't have any credit. So, if I had bought a new car, could I have gone through, a program that a manufacturer would have offered? Yes. But anyway, long story short, you're missing business here if you're not doing stuff like this. Again, decide if you want this in your portfolio and then set up a program, to go after that business. Also, here's something interesting, guaranteed buyback program. Set a residual value at the end, not necessarily a balloon. I know Ally does something like this, but again, there's some room in there for some different ideas and fresh thinking as far as earning business. Next, finding new business. How do you do it? Well, you pinpoint your market. Are you going to try to concentrate on franchise dealerships or independents? Are you going to go for prime, subprime, or full spectrum? Obviously, if you're already in this industry, you understand the ramifications of those types of studies. You do get a lot more subprime, typically, with certain types of franchises and independents. Of course, your geographic area is going to come into play. It is also a danger to fall into the trap of thinking that certain types of dealerships can't give you certain types of business. For example, when I first went to Kelly Cadillac several years ago, I was unable to secure one of my tried and true great relationship lenders who shall remain nameless at this point, because they told me they didn't want to do big, high luxury vehicle loans, that wasn't their market. Well, we sell a lot of certified pre-owned, and we also get a lot of less expensive trade-ins very nice retail pieces, a few years old, that, was an average finance amount of $20,000 or $25,000. I mean, I just can't think that wouldn't be something you'd want. So anyway, just try not to be too narrow in your focus, and, just go after, to have a business you want, and do some research. Making the initial contact. Well, this might be like the ABCs of real basic stuff. I'm going to tell you anyway. This is what I like. Always ask for the F&I director. Doesn't matter if there is like 2 cars on the showroom floor and there's like 1 person in the building. Ask for the F&I director. If there is one, that's the person you need to talk to. If there's not one, you'll make the finance manager feel special. Always have an elevator speech, which is 30 seconds, 90 seconds, 60 seconds, whatever it's supposed to be. A lot of times you're not going to get to talk to the finance manager, as you well know if you've had anybody out in the field trying to drum up new business. So you may not even get to give your elevator speech at that point, but have it ready. And this is what I think would be a terrific idea. The first time you go, have a branded gift with a little card and contact info in it. This is what I mean by that. A branded gift. It could be a coffee mug. It could be a screen cleaner. It could be, whatever. Something that somebody that sits at a desk in an office in front of a computer for 50 hours a week is going to like to have. Hand sanitizer, breath mints, whatever. But if it sits on my desk and I look at it every day, I see your logo. I see the name of your company, your lender, your finance company, and it's going to stick in my mind. And eventually, I might call you. And then the next time you come in, I go, oh, yeah, you, even if I never met you. As far as a line card, I couldn't think of any word for this in automotive lingo, but in manufacturing sales, which is what the other stuff that I get involved with, a line card simply says what types of equipment I sell. So stick a little card in there that says, we do first-time buyers. We do leases. We do, high advance. We do, your best parts of your program. How do you pay? Do you have the best flat fees? Whatever. Just make a short little bullet point thing with the representative name, the bank information, phone numbers, emails, whatever. And then just hand that. You don't have to see the person. Don't be a pest because we don't like to talk to new people, And then a couple days later, follow up with an email. Obviously, we'll hand out a card. You should get our card. So follow up that person with an email. And I can tell you that that will probably at least get you a response, if not more than that. Finding new business. Okay, some more points here. You want to make sure that your program information is concise, attractive, and unique. I can't tell you how many large packets of folders with papers and dealer agreements and all kinds of stuff that I ever might need for your company that I get up front. I don't care about that stuff. It's either going to go in the round file or in some other file or in the recycle bin. I just want the short, sweet, and to the point. Why should I go with your program? What is it going to benefit me? And what do you do? Again, that little card with some concise information, so that could be something good. Just a rate sheet or like a pared down rate sheet, whatever. Just make it something different. Again, it'll get you a better chance of having a conversation with that person. Here's another thing that always frustrates me when I have a lender that's quoting me. Keep your reserve account requirements and other criteria reasonable and easy to comply with. I have had 2 months time periods of trying to get signed up with the bank just because of ridiculous things. Nobody wants to keep a lot of money in their reserve account because they want our money, so make that reasonable. Other criteria, as far as who can sign contracts, as far as who can sign the dealer agreement, obviously the dealer needs to sign it. And this ties right in with my next point. Make an appointment with the dealer and the finance director or manager to help them complete the paperwork. And at that point, you can meet all the players. So instead of just calling and say, hey, did you get my dealer agreement done yet? You can send that back to me. That is so ignorant to me. I'm busy, why don't you say, hey, let me come in and bring you, some lunch, and I'll sit down with you, make sure we have everything we need. Your reps need to understand all that. And also, again, this is building the relationship. You're starting out on the right foot. You get to meet the office manager, you're going to get to meet the person that's going to be, sending the contract, get to meet the dealer. Again, building the relationship. And I think that that's about all I have. I have a lot more to say, but I'm sure that you'll have lots of questions. So I think we'll just open it up, and I'll just wait for your questions. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Sarah. So you did a great job telling us all what lenders can do to win your business. Bring that coffee and donuts, guys. But what's something a lender has done that's lost your business or just turned you off and made you say no?
That's a great question, Phil. Think of which example I should use. Well, I'm going to use the word relationship again, and we're going to go with personal relationship. Sometimes when lenders say, okay, yes, I will do this kind of business for you. I will do this kind of deal for you. You can call me if you need this, and you work along with someone and you get to expect that. One day, you call up, and that person says, I can't help you. They came down from the top. They've changed it. They don't, they don't want us to do this type of business anymore. Something happened, whatever. I can't buy this for you today. Well, that can be a death knell of the relationship, because chances are I spotted two people under those criteria the day before, and I may not have anywhere else to send them, or maybe they live 5 hours away. So, getting myself caught in the middle of a situation like that can really destroy a relationship.
Right. That doesn't sound so good. So once you're in the relationship, what constitutes a good lender-dealer relationship? What are some nuts and bolts examples of what a lender's done that's kept you happy?
Well, I think that person, again, it's a personal relationship, makes a big difference. Checking in, hey, is there anything I can do to help you? Do you need contracts? Are there any deals that you need some help with? Be sure to call me, that kind of thing. Just staying in contact, I think, is one of the biggest things. And we do really like treats, I started in this business, when money and gifts and just crazy stuff, because people just had a lot of money, back in the 90s, 80s and 90s, it just, we got all kinds of goodies, And so those of us that have been in this a while, sometimes we get kind of sad when we think about all those things, that we used to get. There were a lot of, cash stiffs to finance managers for contracts. That's a dangerous game. I don't really know. Maybe some people still do that, but a lot of them have changed the programs, because there are, unfortunately, some dishonest people out there that can, the lender might get contracts, but the dealership business can really be hurt by that. But, just, again, the relationship, checking up, and making sure that you're not changing how you're buying deals.
Right. Just a reminder to everyone that you can type questions in the message box on the left of your screen in order to send them to Sarah and me. So we have a question. How often do you expect to see your lender rep?
At least once a month. At least once a month.
Once a month. So we've talked a bit about expectations for the lender. How do you see the dealer's role in the lender-dealer relationship?
Well, being straightforward and being ethical and being consistent. That is, in my mind, the only way to do any business, but especially with a lender. It's a very, let's see if I can try to phrase this right. It's a matter of trust. we are as I said earlier, we are the eyes and ears for the lenders. You guys are not sitting in front of that customer. You don't see what we see. And there have been a lot of cases where, unfortunately people have not been honest with, applications, income, pay stubs, whatever. We could just talk about that for 2 hours. Let's not. But, it's very important for the dealership to be honest and straightforward. And if we have a problem, we say, this contract is wrong, I have to get it re-signed, or I this, or I that, we want to be able to call you, and say, hey, I need to get this re-signed, or I have this problem, I accidentally contracted it wrong. Can you just buy it so we can get this over with, But again, you make sure that your dealers are being straightforward with you. I think that's like the most important thing, because that relationship, once trust is broken, is broken.
Right. So dealership groups, how should the sales and marketing effort differ for selling to dealership groups?
Oh, as opposed to small single point or
as opposed to, right.
The dealer groups, your contact is going to be that F&I director. Things typically move slower as far as getting on board with a dealership group, simply because there's more dealerships involved. And you're going to have to do your research. You're going to have to find out, you should do this with any dealership, but especially for large dealer groups, find out who they're using now, and try to make your presentation fit exactly what your competition's shortcomings are, So really do your research. If you come in to me and I am the director of a large dealer group and you say, look, I really want your business. I know you're happy with so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, but these are some things that I think that we have that you might be interested in. And would you be willing to run a trial in one of your stores to see how, our programs might work as compared to X? Also, again, you're talking about a larger pool of business, so you are going to be getting more contracts, from that one source, so to speak. Of course, you can't offer different pricing because that wouldn't be fair. But there may be some ways that you could incentivize that dealer group to go with your program.
Right. Another question. Any differences between working with credit unions and banks?
Yes.
Short answer.
That's a short answer. There's a lot of long answers there. I'm going to answer this question specifically from the finance manager's standpoint, as far as getting approvals and funding, maybe. Because I don't really, there's so many things I could say. Okay.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Credit unions have really become more prevalent in auto finance as far as like the indirect lending. There are some little weird quirks with working with credit unions, because some of them, like, they don't do indirect. It has to be a direct contract, so you kind of have to, work around that. Generally, and I will say this, generally, the credit unions in the local community are more lenient on certain types of credit and or maybe residence information, simply because they are in the community. They know the people in the community. I might have somebody that is a 20-year employee, of Alcoa Nil, and their credit is absolutely just, horrible. They kind of pay some stuff good, but they have good loans with that credit union, So that is a positive on the credit union side. As far as funding, some of them do good, some of them don't. It just depends. There can be some confusion there. The credit unions, again, they can be a little quirky, and everyone's different, so it's hard to know. But I will say, as a dealer, one of my biggest fears is losing business to the credit union. Typically, the reserve amounts that are paid by credit unions are smaller than those paid by banks, and they market directly to their customers. So, for example, I belong to a credit union, and I get a notification, twice a year, lower your interest rate, or, when it's time for your new car, click on this button, and we have a car sale, through Enterprise and special financing. Well, I fear that I will never see that customer again in the dealership. So I hope that answers some of your questions.
Yeah, that's good. So now to bring it around to compliance, of course.
Oh, yeah.
What are your lenders doing to make sure you're doing things correctly at the dealership? Are you seeing things differently from smaller banks, smaller lenders that aren't yet regulated by CFPB, for example?
Well, that's a good question. Not especially, to answer the last part of your question first. Smaller banks,
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are going, But, I don't think anybody's immune here, and I think people do realize that. Some of the smaller banks are a little more agile as far as getting programming changes and documentation changes in place. And also, because they're smaller, they're a little bit more exposed. So, for example, we have a small lender, that is a regional lender in our area, and they have been around for the entire 15 years I've been in the industry. Changed hands a couple times, but hey, same people though. But they have had some pretty strict privacy and other compliance things in place for a long time because, they kind of saw into the future a little bit and implemented those things, much quicker. So that kind of answers maybe the small lender thing. As far as what lenders are expecting, I think that everybody is still just kind of trying to figure out, exactly what's going on. We're getting more information, and we are getting a better idea of what we're going to need to be doing. Dealerships, we have implemented, a form that is completed for every deal. I think I mentioned this earlier. Very simple. If you deviate beyond, our average, rate markup, why, what caused it, put the documentation in the folder. And that's kind of what lenders are expecting because that's what they're going to need to supply, on up the line. So did I answer the question?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Okay. What changes have you made to training and compliance programs recently?
Well, the biggest thing is that, the form that we talked about, and that kind of brought up the whole, conversation and training issue. As far as our sales management and finance staff, we're a pretty small dealership, so it's really just like 4 of us. So we were like, okay, well, this is what we got to do. So make sure that you stay within this range as far as markup. And as far as, training, we do talk to the salespeople, the people that are involved with our, directly with our customers, and we do hold our, annual or biannual, privacy red flags and, all that other stuff. And we sort of lump everything together. So as far as major changes, I really don't think there are any other than the fact that conversations are happening and more information has been added to our regular trainings.
Right. More and more information.
Yes.
What are, in terms of lenders winning business, what are the main criteria you look for in terms of service lenders provide? Does response time matter more? Speed, rates? What's top of your list for that?
Good question. All of it. I would say response time. I would say rate, response time, and funding. Those are kind of like the top three. If I know somebody's rate's going to be lower, I'll hang around a little bit to wait for the approval. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then, but if I know I'm going to have an absolute nightmare in funding, then I'm just not even going to submit the deal. Because
right.
I'm responsible for making sure those contracts get cashed and we get the money. And it doesn't matter what size dealership you are. Dealerships are extremely cash intensive, and you need to have the cash.
Right. Again, a quick reminder: you can enter your questions in the text box on the left of your screen. Question now is, do most dealers actively work to shop pre-approved credit union members rather than returning that loan to the credit union? So there's a very specific credit union question for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
We do.
And
listen, it's all about dollars and cents, and again, the fear of losing the customer. Now, I will say this though. Some of the credit unions I work with have now implemented the program that, to say one in particular, we would have a customer come in that was pre-approved through the lender or through the credit union. We could submit the application and get the exact same approval and, get a few $100, so we did that. But now one of my credit unions says, look, if they come in, they buy a car from you and you let me know that they're there and they're pre-approved, we'll work something out. So that's, that makes it a little bit easier. It helps you as a credit union keep that customer. But, unless you've got a really low rate or it's a long term or something crazy or an older vehicle that, I can't get done at the bank, yeah, I'm absolutely going to at least try to see if it's worthwhile to shop it.
Shoppers now are doing a lot more research online. Do you see that impacting financing discussions?
Yeah, it does. They say, hey, I saw such and such a rate online, but, as far as financing discussions, it really, that's so easy to get around as a finance manager. It's so easy to say, oh, yeah, do you have that website, or can you show me exactly where that was? And they have no idea. They just saw it somewhere. Oh, absolutely, for a new car, yes. But, when you're buying a car that's 5 years old and that kind of thing. So, not really.
Right. So what's your
Unless they're pre-approved, we do still get the people, coming in. Sometimes it's Capital One, sometimes it's other lenders too. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. So what's your outlook for the rest of 2014?
My outlook for the rest of 2014, I think that business is going to continue to grow and stay strong as far as, new. We're a little, we're a single point Cadillac dealership. We sell about, 40% new. So we do have a pretty healthy used car business. It's been a little tough lately, what with the ignition and all that sort of stuff, but I think people are still buying cars, so I think that's going to come back around. As far as the whole market, again, I think that we are still in the upswing. I think that we're just going to see a really good year for the rest of this year, and I think 2015 is going to be good too. A lot of manufacturers are, coming out with some new models, and the whole electric, Tesla thing. I mean, that's really exciting. As far as the production of that car by making the patent free or whatever. So.
Right. That was interesting.
Yeah.
And now the question is, would you recommend lenders go to flat fee compensation because of current or future regulation? And will that hurt the relationship with the dealer?
Oh boy. that is
those flat fees.
Yes, we've been talking about that for years. Okay. There's a flat fee and there's a flat fee with quotes. The flat fee, I'm going to pay you, $500 for every contract you send me, regardless of the size, or I'm going to pay you X per thousand, okay, fine. But you know, you have flat fees. Oh, well, if you hold 2%, or if you hold this rate, charge this rate, we'll give you 2% a flat fee. That's, you know, if you do this rate, we'll give you 3%. If that's not a flat fee, that's a fake flat fee. You know, it's still, you know, rate markup. I am afraid. I'm hoping that won't happen. But I would say this, that you really are going to have to try to get some reps or some people out to talk to your dealers to find out exactly what they're thinking. And we all are so high and mighty, oh yes, let's do flat fees, let's make it fair for everybody. But, you know, when your paycheck depends on that number at the end of the month, and you can make $300 extra or $100 extra on the next 10 deals, you know, you got to look at that $3,000. I mean, that's a huge difference in my paycheck. So I would say that I wouldn't rush to do it, maybe. I know you're asking me exactly what you should do. I wouldn't rush to go to a flat fee, but definitely consider it. And it could hurt the relationship with the dealer, but as long as it's a fair flat fee that could be compared to, you know, full finance reserve, then you could definitely consider it. So.
Right. And last question, I'm sure what everyone wants to know, how do you take your coffee?
Black.
Black, okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Oh, can I
ahead.
address the other question about the credit union? Did you see that?
Sure, yes.
Yes, I've been thinking about that. I see you out there in San Jose, California. And that's like, listen, I love my credit union. I've been
The question was just so.
Oh yeah, sorry.
The question is, and that is why we credit unions go back after that loan. How do we find a balance? Right. That's the question you're.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. San Jose. I'll give you my email, and for $500 per hour, I'll tell you exactly. Oh no, she's joking. No, there is a balance, and I think I'm going to tell you the same thing. Relationship. I have a very good friend who is a lender at my local credit union that I belong to for 20 years, and they also do indirect or whatever, and so I've sent them a lot of car loans, and they will. I've talked to him about this before, and he understands, the boat that I'm in, and I understand the boat that he's in. So I think that how can we strike a balance? I think you have to have a conversation, and there are some ways you can keep track in your system somehow, I'm sure, of where that loan came from. You can, maybe create, if you're getting a lot of loans from certain dealerships, maybe you could create a partnership with that dealership, to market to those customers. So I think that there is room for a balance, and again, it's going to come back to that personal relationship. So I hope that answers your question, and thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. The Center for Auto Finance Excellence is committed to bringing you quality content on best practices in auto lending and leasing, and we hope you will join the Center at autofinanceexcellence.org to receive our alerts and to participate in other Center events. Again, there will be a recording of this webinar on the Center's website. That will be up soon. And please keep an eye out for additional events from the Center for Auto Finance Excellence. Thank you once again to our partner Fiserv for their support. Thank you again, Sarah. And this concludes today's teleconference. We hope you have a great day.
Thank you.